Hey, welcome back. My name is Craig, and today we're going to talk about the FBI's #1 negotiation tactic. It's called tactical listening, and everybody tells you should be a better listener, but sometimes it's really hard to take that really kind of nebulous advice and then pare it down to something that you can actually do today. So we're going to pare it down to one specific thing that you can do, and then you're going to be able to see the results right away. Okay? Let's get into it. Negotiation is kind of a loaded term, and some people are scared of the idea of negotiating, but I just think of it as good communication with results, which is something we're engaged in all the time. Now, a critical part of any sort of communication is learning to listen, but that can be kind of a really difficult concept. Do you constantly remind yourself, oh, I should be listening better? How do you actually become a better listener? And this specific technique actually gets you out of your own head and really helps you focus on the other person. Step number 1 is trying to get rid of the voices in your head. It's really common, and I do this too, which is the other person's talking and it's very easy to spend all your own time, instead of listening to them, you're thinking about what you're gonna say next. If you look at communication as a battle of arguments, then you're always just gonna be overwhelmed with the voices in your head. And instead of listening to them, you're listening to yourself. And when you're talking, you're making arguments and you're trying to solve problems instead of move people from one idea to another. Try to be a people mover, not a problem solver. If you're a people mover and you can move for somebody from one idea to another, you don't have to be the world's best problem solver. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. If you can enact people to change, it's an extremely powerful thing, obviously. Now, in order to do that, it really is important that you understand what they want and what they need. And those aren't necessarily the same thing. What somebody wants is usually easy to kind of find out, because when I talk about what I want, it's about getting my own way. And when I talk about what I need, it's different. It's a little bit more vulnerable and personal, and it's more about survival. But wants and needs aren't where you start. What you start is by listening. And when you listen to somebody really, really closely, you validate their feelings, what they're talking about, you create enough trust for a real conversation to begin. We're gonna do something called mirroring, and mirroring can be used in a lot of different ways. People call it paraphrasing, some people call it restating, depending on what your genre of learning is. And we're gonna do it in a very simple way, and I learned about this from the expert FBI hostage negotiator, Christopher Voss. Christopher Voss actually wrote this book called Never Split the Difference. It has a lot of stuff about hostage negotiation that is really great and fun to learn about, but it also has some really practical tips. And mirroring is actually the #1 thing that the FBI hostage negotiators teach to new recruits. The way to do mirroring is to just repeat the last 3 or 4 words of whatever the other person is saying. You can repeat the last 3 or 4 words, but the other option is to repeat the 3 or 4 words that have the most kind of emotional punch. So let me give you a few examples. I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was talking about a trip to go see her family, and she said, it was a good trip, it wasn't all easy. And I just said, oh, it wasn't all easy? And then I waited. And it's a very, very simple thing to just repeat those last few words, but when you try it, and this is the most important thing, don't judge just based on the idea of it. Try this out in your life and then just keep doing it in a conversation and see what the results are. It's pretty impressive. I have to say, whenever I think about this and I do it myself, I'm always impressed at how much more depth I can get out of the conversation, even if it's a personal conversation or a professional one. If your boss walks in and said, hey, I need these reports on Tuesday, you say, oh, you need the reports on Tuesday? And then you'll get more explanation of why does he need them Tuesday? Is it actually Tuesday, or could you push it to next week? Getting more information is always a good thing, and really listening to the person is always a really good thing, and showing them that you're listening by kind of getting more and digging deeper into the conversation always gets you to a better place. This idea of mirroring comes from this really biological thing where, as humans, we like things that are similar to us, and we fear things that are different. And that notion goes from how we look to how we act to the way we speak, and even down to the words we use. So when you're mirroring, try to use their words as much as possible. All right, the final step number 3, is really simple, which is you need to open up a pregnant pause, a gap. Whenever you mirror, don't follow up with your own thoughts and your own feelings. The purpose is to mirror and then open up some vacuum, a space for the other person to fill. The more you open up a space, the more that they're gonna fill it with their thoughts and feelings, and that's you eliciting a deeper conversation, eliciting more information from the negotiation, Everything is more positive when you can actually open up and let them have enough space to fill in that gap. Now, just to wrap things up here, it's important to notice what you're not doing. And the things that you're not doing are, you're not focused on what you're saying, you're not putting in your own thoughts and feelings, you're not solving their problem, you are just getting them to open up, you're deepening the conversation, you're understanding more about them simply by this very, very simple thing of repeating the last few words and getting the emotional impact of those words and getting them to say more. It's always good to be able to open up a safe space for the other person to fill in with their thoughts, their words, and their feelings. So that is the number one, if you can believe it, the number one tactic that the FBI hostage negotiators use in hostage negotiations, and it is super, super useful. So what I implore you to do is don't just listen to this video and then think, oh, that's kind of interesting, okay, fine, whatever. Take this out and actually just use it a few times in one conversation and pay attention to how much of a difference it makes when you're not thinking about your own arguments and instead you're focused on the other person, and when you get them to open up this space and fill it in with more information. It'll really improve communications across, your personal and professional life. The number one thing the FBI considers their number one try it again. Hey, welcome back. My name is Craig, and I am gonna tell you today, no, that's not what I wanna say. Gotta get into the flow. If you like this video, let me know, hit the like button, and of course, hit me up in the comments. If you have any questions or good ideas about other topics you'd like me to cover, of course, let me know. I'm commenting back, and of course, I will put those into our next videos. I mean, I wanna make a whole bunch of videos about communication and negotiation, how to move through your life and interact with other humans, things I'm really interested in. And of course, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you. I will see you in the next video.